What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over how to dominate close range fights in Chapter 3 Season 4 in Zero Build. So this video is going to focus mainly on Zero Build. Some of this will apply to build mode because a lot of it's just general Fortnite tips, but close range fights in build mode and Zero Build are completely different because of the lack of building. But if you guys do enjoy this video or find it helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite items are to use for close range fights in Season 4. The first thing we're going to talk about is weapon swapping. I feel like this is something a lot of people know about, but they don't really use perfectly as I spectate people in my spectating videos or just watch other people play. I feel like a lot of people get this wrong. And when I've talked about this, a lot of people have said it helped them. So a lot of people know that you shoot your shotgun and then you swap to like a spray weapon to like finish the opponent off. But that isn't necessarily always correct in Zero Build because of the overshield that players have. It's somewhat unlikely that you deal so much damage to them with your shotgun shot that you're going to want to just stick with your spray weapon. Like if you have a gold prime and you 190 someone, then sure, you could probably just switch to your spray weapon and just finish the kill easily. But more often than not, you're going to want to shoot your shotgun, swap to your AR or SMG, shoot a few shots, and then swap back to the shotgun, because the shotgun is going to be able to deal huge amount of damage in one shot, usually going to be 100 plus or close to that. And so you're basically just using the spray weapon to fill the time between shotgun shots, because whether you have the shotgun out or not, the time between shots is the same. So you might as well fill that time with damage from your AR. So this works really well with the chrome burst, and it works like really simply with the chrome burst. You can shoot the prime shotgun, swap to the burst, shoot one burst, and then swap back to the prime, and essentially use it like how double pump was, where you're just juggling between these two weapons, outputting a lot of damage very fast, especially when you have a purple or higher rarity burst. But even with the hammer AR, which is what I've been using most recently, you swap to the hammer AR after shooting your prime, shoot like 4 or 5 bullets, maybe even 2 or 3. Like you only shoot a little bit and then you swap back to the shotgun, because if you can go like 100 damage with the prime, 50 or 60 damage with the hammer, and then 100 with the prime again, that's going to be the kill every time, and that's going to be the most efficient and fastest way for you to get kills. And that's also why I don't like the Ranger shotgun very much. If it fits your playstyle and it fits how you want to play, that's fine. But with the Ranger shotgun, you shoot your shotgun, and it's useless for the rest of the fight. You have to reload it to be able to use it again. So even if you hit 100 plus shot, you're going to have to stick with your spray weapon for the rest of the damage. Like let's just say your Ranger hits 120. Then you need 130 damage out of your AR to finish that kill, or your spray weapon, whatever it is. Whereas with the prime, not only does the prime have higher damage with the fully loaded benefit, the prime is actually the hardest hitting shotgun in the game. It also has the potential for follow-up shots because it has several in the mag, and it also has a somewhat fast fire rate to where you don't have to stick on your spray weapon very much. So that's why I like the prime over the Ranger. It's mainly just because not only does it hit harder, it's more forgiving, and it combos well for this type of weapon swapping that we're going to be doing. Hip firing is also usually going to be ideal in close range fights. I've talked about this before in past videos, but if you're someone who has to like hard ADS your shotgun to be able to hit any shots, this is really detrimental, because when you are aiming in like that, you can't move around as much, and we'll talk about that later on. But also your sensitivity is much lower, so you're not going to be able to correct any sort of movement that the opponent does. You know, if you're hard aiming your shotgun, it's very slow and you're not as reactive. So if your opponent crouches or your opponent jumps, they're just going to completely throw your shot off, and it just makes you much slower and much easier to hit as well. So you don't want to be hard ADSing your shotgun all the time. Maybe you like tap the ADS button a little bit to aim it in, like slow down your sensitivity a little bit and tighten that spread a little bit. But for the most part, you want to be able to hip fire your shotgun. Same with the spray weapons to an extent. You want to have a sensitivity that's good at tracking opponents with hip fire. A lot of people make their base like X and Y sensitivity way too fast, and then they are not consistent at all with tracking people. And just toning that down a bit and getting a sensitivity that is more consistent for you to like track people with your hip fire is going to go a long way in consistency in this game. And usually if you are using your spray weapon, you just want to hip fire it. There are some fights where you might ADS if they're just kind of on like the borderline. Like if someone's like 10 meters away, you could hip fire, you could ADS. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but you might want to ADS for that. But for, 5 meters and closer, you just want to be able to hip fire. This is going to give you the best chance to be as evasive as possible. And that's another thing. Like so much of close range fights not only comes down to you hitting your shots, but moving your character in such a way that makes it hard for the opponents to hit their shots. if you go fight someone and they just stand there and just stand still the entire fight, that would be like ideal for you, right? So when you're in a fight, you want to do the opposite of that. You want to be strafing side to side, crouch spamming maybe when you're shooting your spray weapon, jump shotting with the shotgun. And typically when you are jump shotting, you want to shoot at like the peak of your jump. That way you're looking straight down on the opponent. And this is going to make it very easy for a lot of those pellets to go into the head while also like hitting the pellets that don't hit the head, hit the body, rather than the pellets that don't hit the head just like being over the head. If you're jumping and looking straight down on somebody, that's like a very easy angle to get like good shotgun damage out of. So make yourself as annoying to fight as possible. When you fight somebody in this game and you're like, holy, that person was annoying to fight, like I couldn't track them at all, try to mimic that with your movement, and that's like gonna give you the easiest way to like make it hard for you to for your opponents to shoot you and for them to get consistent damage on you. Right shoulder peeks are also essential for any sort of close range fight, whether you're fighting in a building, like around a rock or tree, whatever. A lot of fights in this game occur around some piece of cover. Like some are in the wide open, but a lot of them occur around a piece of cover. And the player that has a right shoulder peek has a huge advantage. And you need to know this even if you are playing super aggressive. If you're pushing somebody, you need to know whether or not they have right shoulder peek, because if you're pushing into somebody's right shoulder peek, that is a huge disadvantage for you. And the reason why this is a thing, and you could just go into game and try it, if you stand on a wall and then you want to peek from the right, you have to expose less of your character to actually be able to shoot. And then if you were to peek from the left, you have to expose a lot of your character to be able to shoot. It's just the way the crosshair is in this game, it's off center to the right, and that makes it to where right shoulder peeks are really OP. And this has been a part of the game forever. Super important in build mode. Pretty much all of like build fights and situations where you're editing on somebody just comes down to making sure you have right shoulder peek. So I feel like people who play build mode are already really good at this. But whether you're fighting indoors, fighting outdoors, whether you're pushing somebody, whatever, knowing which player has right shoulder peek is huge. And you can even use like things like the goo gun or the RPG to zone somebody off of their right shoulder peek. And that is a huge, really like beneficial use of these items. And that's another thing that is just very integral in close range fights, I think, is just going into it with an HP advantage, because close range fights are going to be the fights where they're the most neutral, I would say. Like if you're medium range and you have good cover and the opponent doesn't, and you have first shot, like you're probably just going to kill them, and you have much more potential to do damage to them than they have to you. But close range fights, you're often like so close that both players are going to just be able to damage each other and essentially trade damage. And so going into the fight with an HP advantage, whether it be through like mid-range AR tags, using the goo gun or the RPG, like oftentimes I will tag somebody a few times with the AR, shockwave at them, and then goo gun them or RPG them. I'm saying both because the RPG won't be in the game after the next update, so you might be watching this video after the RPG has been removed. But those AoE explosive weapons are really good combined with shockwaves when you're pushing somebody, especially if they're on cover. You can just basically zone them off of your cover with the explosive. But shockwaving at somebody with goo, shockwaving at somebody with RPG, boogie bombs in the past were really good with this, opening the fight with mid-range AR tags, opening the fight with a snipe. Anything you can do to give yourself an advantage early on in the fight, not only are you going to end that fight faster and make it less likely that you get third-partied, but you're likely going to take less damage, and that's also nice, because if you do get third-partied, you're going to be in less of like a negative situation, but you're also not going to have to invest as many heals into that fight, which is also a really big deal. So getting any sort of HP advantage you can going into a fight makes your close range fight so much easier. I feel like close range fights are the fights where not only are you likely to take the most damage because it's more 50-50, but also things can go south really fast. You know, you might hit a bad shotgun shot or whatever and get very little damage, and you might be going up against somebody who has a gold prime and they just 190 you. You know, things can go south very quickly in close range fights. So giving yourself any advantage going into it is a huge deal, I think. And then the final thing is just going to be to be comfortable fighting. I think the biggest thing I see a lot of people doing wrong, especially in the videos I make spectating people, is that they play incredibly passive. And this can work in the short term. If all you want to do is get on and get one win, then maybe hiding will work. But the more you play, the more you would have just benefited from getting comfortable fighting. And like the way I try to explain this is that like in game, a lot of people are going to be nervous anyways, you know, especially people who are newer to PRs and aren't as used to the game. They get very nervous in game, and people are also going to be very nervous fighting. So when it comes down to winning a game, you're going to have to kill the last player. And if you're already very nervous because it's in game and you're just generally nervous or stressed fighting people, you're not comfortable fighting, that's going to suck. So I think the biggest thing that you want to do if you are someone who wants to improve in Fortnite is just get comfortable fighting. Because if you're comfortable fighting, the rest kind of takes care of itself. If you're better at fighting than everybody else in the lobby, you're more likely to win that game than anybody else. There are some things that are out of your control, but being comfortable fighting and being used to fighting other players, and really the only way this will happen is the more fights you get into, the more you'll get used to it. Creative is very, very, very good for this, or even Team Rumble. But I think creative is great for it. There's many creative maps that just allow you to go in there and fight people, rinse and repeat. You can get in so many reps so fast and just get very practiced fighting people. And this is going to get rid of that nerves. It's going to make you more comfortable fighting, and it's going to make you better at all of the other things that we already discussed. So not only are you just going to be better at fighting, you're going to be more confident fighting, and that's going to make a huge impact on your gameplay. So I think just being comfortable fighting people is the biggest thing in any BR, and Fortnite especially. If you guys did find this video helpful or informative, remember to give a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below what your favorite setup is for close range fights right now in Season 4.